an episode of the 3 Count. Actually, welcome back to another episode of 3 Count slash Elite Count. I'm War Machine MJ, the first of the WW3 champion, the 3 Count Mafia champion for now until WrestleMania Backlash is over with, and the Elite Count champion. Now, reason why I call this episode the, come on, cooperate, thank you. Reason why I call it the 3 Count slash Elite Count is because I'm reviewing Smackdown and Rampage. Because both these shows take place on a Friday night, and Rampage doesn't really, doesn't really advance any story. It's just an hour of good-ass wrestling. And a few recaps from Dynamite. So let's go ahead and kick it off with Smackdown. Sorry. My sinuses are acting up. Anyway. Smackdown, it's the WrestleMania, the Smackdown after WrestleMania, which, the main focus of this is what's next for Roman Reigns and the Bloodline. Unfortunately, we don't get that answer until the end of the show, because we kick the show off with Ronda Rousey talking about her loss to Charlotte at WrestleMania. And I never really paid attention to Ronda's promo style until this episode. She sounds so bored or boring, because she just kind of talks like this, and it's kind of boring and just runs on. Just feels like a run-on sentence with weird time to pause. She's got a weird cadence to her flow. Basically, the meat and potatoes of this is she had Charlotte beat at Mania. Charlotte tapped out to the armbar. Ref didn't see it, and Charlotte got the victory. She's got no bones about that. But then she said she wants a rematch against Charlotte at Backlash, and Charlotte just kind of dismisses Ronda. Says, "Oh, I felt the pressure of that armbar, but I didn't tap. I won. I think that the baddest woman on the planet moniker is nothing more than a myth. As far as your rematch goes, no." And Ronda ended this promo by saying, this match is going to happen one way or another, and then we move on. Next we had Xavier Woods taking on, and once again I'm only going to mention this name for continuity, but I'm just going to mention it one time, and I'm going to revert to the previous name going forward, because I refuse to call this man by this name. Xavier Woods taking on Butch, aka the Bruiserweight Pete Dunne. So before the match, Dunne, Sheamus, and Holland were in the back. And they were kind of psyching up Pete Dunne. Going fight night, fight night. They're chanting that while Dunne just kind of shoved them both and walked out there. They walked out there squad deep, and the New Day, Xavier Woods and Kofi. Best wishes to Big E. Hope he's doing great. Basically, they cut a promo before the match saying that WrestleMania is the season finale, which, duh. Why isn't WWE capitalizing on that? Because it feels like a season finale. Anyway, but because it was a season finale, the Raw and SmackDown after Mania gets a reset for the rankings. Uh, yeah, rankings. Basically, both both factions are 0 for 0. So yeah, and that led to this match. Xavier Woods taking on Pete Dunne. Just a quick blink and you miss it match. Xavier Woods beats Pete Dunne with a small package roll up that Pat McAfee coined the backwoods. And yeah, New Day took off. Afterwards, Dunn kind of lost his head, started pushing at Sheamus and Holland, and then he gets put in the corner like a child. I don't know who this Butch character is, but this isn't Pete Dunne. Pete Dunne is cool. Pete Dunne, he keeps his cool. He shrugs his shoulders. He's a cool dude. This Butch guy, he's got all the charm of a raccoon with rabies. Anyway. Next, there was a backstage segment where Sami Zayn was complaining to Adam Pearce about his humiliating loss at the hands of Johnny Knoxville at WrestleMania in that Anything Goes match, which that match was more fun than it should have been. Anyway, Sami Zayn once again put his foot in his mouth and he told Adam Pearce, in order to get his respect back, he's going to challenge the next guy that walks through that locker room door. And, they did the whole back and forth of the next guy, the next guy, the next guy, the next guy. And the next guy that walked out was Big Bad Drew McIntyre. They see him walk away, and Sami Zayn goes, okay. The second guy that walks through there, and Adam Pearce then said, nope. First guy, match is official. Get ready. Get ready for the next battle. Next. Oh my God. Just, oh my God. We had the Smackdown debut of, once again, I'm calling this man by his previous name, Walter de Ring General. But before he had his Smackdown debut, he was introduced by, and once again for continuity's sake I'm going to refer to this man's his new name once and then I'm going to go back to his old name. He was introduced by Ludwig Kaiser, the former Marcel Barthel of Imperium. Hang on. Imperium. Not much to say about this. Walter squashed local enhancement talent Joe Alonzo. And that was it. Next, there was another debut, not really an in-ring, but a kind of behind-the-scenes promo from Raquel Rodriguez, which, okay, I'm not upset about this name change. She got off relatively scot-free as opposed to her peers on SmackDown. All they did was change Raquel Gonzalez to Raquel Rodriguez, which I'm not too mad about that. That's kind of just a drop in the bucket compared to Butch and Gunther and Ludwig Kaiser. She was in the middle of excited to be here promo when she was interrupted by Los Lotharios, Angel Garza and Humberto Carrillo. I'm sorry, Humberto Carrillo. They tried to kiss her and she said, no way. Next, we had the best episode of Happy Talk with Happy Corbin and Madcap Moss, where Madcap Moss was still over the moon about winning the Andre. They had all sorts of nice decorations, carpets and balloons, some champagne on ice. Uh, the balloons were pretty pathetic because there were some balloons in the corner that were just kind of laying kind of limp, and then there was some congrats balloons on the bottom turnbuckle on the bottom rope facing hard cam, but there was a couple of letters that weren't inflated, which McAfee remarked, "Does that spell go rats?" It's great. Pat McAfee does great work. Anyway, Corbin basically said there's one person to blame for my loss at WrestleMania, and that's you, Madcap Moss. You're supposed to be my best friend, a guy who tells me a joke. Tell me a joke. And Madcap says, which, by the way, in this segment, Madcap Moss was over like Rover, which he's fantastic and a real trooper for going along with this, this shitty gimmick. Anyway, the first joke that Madcap cuts is, what do you call it when Madcap Moss cost Baron Corbin a win? Madcap loss. Yeah, that's a flat joke. And Corbin goes, tell me another. And it was, what do you call Adam Pearce if he ran a brothel? Madam Pierce, which it's funny, and I'm embarrassed I laughed at it. But it was pretty good. I'll give it that. Even Corbin was trying to stifle a smile. And then Corbin's like, "No, tell me another." And yeah, basically. Madcap goes, okay, what do you call a person that severs a friendship? I forget the whole build. It was basically just like a nice, neat little bow about their, eventual breakup. And Madcap Moss goes, you call him Happy Corbin. And then Happy Corbin then he attacks Moss, and Moss turns tables. He is just beaten Happy Corbin pillar to post, even dribbling his head on the announce table while Pat McAfee is making some dribbling notions. And I can't wait to see what they're going to do with Madcap Moss going back. I can't wait, because the dude is gifted in the ring, and again, he's a trooper for going along with this shitty gimmick. Next, we had Drew McIntyre versus Sami Zayn, which not much to say about this match, because it was Drew McIntyre would get some offense in, and Sami Zayn would roll out the ring. He'd get some more offense in, and Sami Zayn would leave the ring. And there was a point where Sami Zayn tried to go back to the locker rooms. McIntyre beat him up a bit, threw him back in the ring, and before he could claymore Sami Zayn just got out of there, went through the crowd, and he took a count-out loss. So much for getting his respect back. Next, we had a Lacey Evans promo, which is a complete 180 from her previous character, the whole sassy Southern Belle, all that. This one was a bit more grounded and real. It just kind of felt like, we pulled back the curtain a little bit to, get to know the lady behind the character. Because, she cut a real, kind of heart-wrenching promo, where she talked about her home life, where it wasn't the best. Her father had some demons that weren't properly taken care of, and so her mother packed up all of their belongings and pulled the kids from school and went on the road. and Lacey just kind of took that upbringing and, you know, tried to be the best person that she could be, you know, being, you know, a Marine, being a good mother, a good, you know, daughter, wife, and a great pro wrestler, which, you know, I'm very excited to see where this goes because, you know, I started to feel a little something, you know, with this promo, which, you know, the Southern Belle thing just, God, it sucked. Like, it was just too much. Maybe somebody else could have pulled it off, but no. And it, like, anything is better than the last time we saw her, you know, with all those illusions of her and Ric Flair doing the old two-step tango. If you catch my drift. Enough about that. Moving on. Next, we had Sasha Banks, one half of the WWE Women's Tag Team Champion, taking on Liv Morgan. Now, Sasha and Naomi, well, Sasha was rolling squad deep with Naomi. When Naomi sat down on commentary, Michael Cole made the accurate fact of Naomi and Sasha are the first African American women's tag team champion, which Naomi asked him to repeat, which, for the culture. Solidarity. Anyway, Liv Morgan was interviewed prior to the match asking, you know, why she's facing Sasha on SmackDown even though they have a title match Monday on Raw. She's, well, if I beat Sasha here, that'd give Rhea and I, you know, some momentum heading into that title match. And then she was asked if Rhea's here. She's like, no. Almost like she was going to follow it up with, Rhea's not here, and she doesn't know I'm here. So, this was actually a really good match. Like, Liv Morgan has improved by leaps and bounds, and in the end, she got the victory over Sasha with a small package, which, you know, it's great. It's going to be, you know, it's going to lead to Liv and Rhea losing on Monday, and Rhea's going to go full heel. So, yeah. Next. Next, well, the main event was Roman Reigns talking about what he's going to do next going forward, which, you know, to cut this whole first act down to size, he basically said, we're going to try and unify the tag team titles. I'm standing here with 2 belts. Jimmy and Jay have 2 belts when they could be having 4 belts. So I'm going to send them to Raw, and they're going to take those titles from RK Bro. The next half of it was Shinsuke Nakamura coming out there, and before he could say anything, Roman basically just, you know, in a pseudo nice way, just kind of, he kind of suckered Shinsuke in, you know. Talked about, oh, how it sucked that his partner, Rick Boogs, went down with an injury. You know, he said Boogs very delicately while the rest of the crowd just kind of yelled it. He went down with an injury, and, you know, Roman feels that pain, and he talks about, you know, how they lost Jimmy to a knee injury. You know, right here in the heart of the island of relevancy, all we have is love. And Roman, you know, he hugs Shinsuke, and Shinsuke's like, what the fuck? As soon as Roman breaks away, bam! Shinsuke gets blasted with a couple of super kicks. And Yeah. Yeah, apparently they're going to be setting up with Shinsuke versus Roman next, which, this whole segment felt kind of flat. And I think they had a plan in play prior to Wrestle prior to night night one of WrestleMania. Before Boogs blew out his knee. So there's a debate whether or not Shinsuke and Boogs were going to pick up the straps, and there was a whole lot of it's up in the air, and it feels like they just kind of had to kind of dream something up. Which I'm all right for seeing Shinsuke and Roman go at it. It's something new, something different. It just feeds into the Romans beating everybody at least once narrative. So yeah. And that's going to be it for SmackDown. Oh, by the way, the notes for SmackDown come courtesy of Bleacher Report. Yeah. Next, we go to AEW Rampage. Yeah. We kicked off the show with Trent Beretta of the Best Friends taking on Bryan Danielson of the Blackpool Combat Club. Of course, William Regal was on commentary. Yeah, this whole thing was Trent trying to prove that he's better than Wheeler Yuta, who is starting to drift away from the Best Friends, and he was looking to make a name for himself at the expense of Bryan Danielson. But in the end, he couldn't even stack up to Bryan Danielson, and he even flinched up in the face of the Danielson stomps. So and he tapped pretty early on in the LeBell Lock. Like Danielson didn't even have it fully locked in, and Trent tapped. So yeah. And by the way, Regal on commentary is just immaculate, because it's less of him, explaining what's going on in the match, and more of him just complimenting, his peers. It's great. Next we had more of a promo from America's top, well, Men of the Year, I should say, and Sammy Guevara and Ty Conte, which, whatever. The sooner we get this feud over with, the better. Next was Swerve Strickland taking on the Chris Jericho Sports Entertainer of the Week, QT Marshall, which this was an alright match, but as you kind of figured, Swerve got the victory with the house call. And as soon as the match was over, Ricky Starks, who was on commentary, challenged Swerve and Keith Lee to a tag team match next week on Dynamite, which that should be bangers. Next, we had a backstage segment where Lexi Nair, the interviewers for AEW, tried yet again to get an interview with Hook, and Hook just no sold it, was sitting there eating his chips. And as he's going to throw away his chips, out pops Danhausen from the trash can, trying to curse Hook. Hook again no sells him, throws his chips at him and into the trash can. Danhausen's like, why didn't that work? Ooh, chips. Starts eating chips out of the trash. I like Danhausen. He seems kind of fun. Next, we had another match in the women's, the Owen Hart women's tourney between Willow Nightingale and Red Velvet. Yeah, this was a pretty good match. The main thing of the match was Willow Nightingale was kind of just playing around. She wasn't really into the match, and Red Velvet was throwing everything she had at Willow Nightingale, and Red Velvet got the victory. And in the main event, we had Jon Moxley of the BCC taking on the Ring of Honor Pure Champion Wheeler Yuta, because Wheeler Yuta is on this journey to prove himself for the BCC. Breaking away from the best friends because he feels like they're holding him back, even with Trent Beretta just berating him. And my God, this was, oh my God. Talk about a star-making performance out of Wheeler Yuta. He was given everything that he had at Jon Moxley, even ambushing him before the match even began. Fairly early on, Wheeler Yuta got cut open after Mox rubbed his head against the stairs, and he was gushing blood throughout the whole match. He had the crimson mask, and there was a couple of times you see just like blood shoot out of that wound. It was great, and he didn't back down not once from Mox. And yeah, there was even some time where there was even a time where Mox was throwing his best shots at Yuta, and Yuta just kept going, "Come on, bring it, bring it." But yeah, Wheeler Yuta, he was throwing everything at Mox. He had Mox on the ropes several times. Mox tried to put him away with not one but two paradigm shifts, and Yuta kicked out of both of them. It took Mox hitting a rear naked choke and Yuta passing out for Mox to get the victory. After the match, the rest of the BCC came down, and William Regal had this intense look about his face, like he was either ready to, murder the boy or start throwing hands. But instead, he sticks his hand out there, and Yuta shakes it. Then Moxley gets in Yuta's face, and he says, "Now the real work begins." And then, before the cameras went off, Yuta took some of the blood coming out of his head and scribbled BCC on his chest, which that was class. So yeah, there we go, an absolute banger of a main event. So go check that out. Oh my God, check it out. I was impressed with this match as much as I'm going to be impressed with one of the big matches from this coming Dynamite. Minoru Suzuki and Samoa Joe for the Ring of Honor TV Championship. Oh my God, I love both these guys. And I can't wait to see them beat the shit out of each other. So yeah, that's it for AEW Rampage. Those notes came courtesy of Bleacher Report as well, so do check it out. That being said, I'm War Machine MJ. You see all my titles. And I shall see you next time. Bye.